Okay. Looks like Facebook's taking hold. Yeah. And YouTube's live. So let's get over to our intro. Allow everybody time to come in. We got the first show of the week. We got about 18 shows this week. This one's with Alicia Young Hall, who's very cool lady. So we're going to chat with her here just shortly. We're going to play the intro, and we'll be right back. How's it going, everybody? Got Alicia Young Halls in the house. That'll be good. She's very connected, very cool. Pulls in all her own stuff. There she is. I'll let her fill you in on the details. What's happening? Uh-oh, wait a minute. You gotta make it. There you go.
There we go. Perfect.
What's happening? What are you doing? What's going on?
So much. Living in the jungle.
Living in the jungle?
Yeah.
And I should have played
Welcome to the Jungle.
Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle.
Do you know where you are? Yeah, exactly.
So what's going on? You look great. You look fantastic. Of course, you're out in the sun every day. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting though, even being out in the sun here, there's so many trees and it's rainy season now. So I don't get as tan as I would think. I'm a pretty white girl though. I'm pretty fair, but feeling good, feeling refreshed. It's been a heck of a time since I've talked to you last, for sure. Like,
no kidding. What's that you got on your neck? What is that?
Oh, this is a special jade piece.
I thought it was jade. Yeah. Jade's like my favorite. Oh, that's got like a little face on it.
Yeah, I can't. So my partner's had access to some pretty nice, rare pieces. And we actually have a jade museum here in Costa Rica because, well, so much jade has been found here. Jade isn't made in Costa Rica, but we're kind of the center point from North America and South America. So they would come here, civilize, trade gold and jade. So they've found so many, burials and jade pieces and all of that.
So we talked, I think, first time we met was probably April or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, and you just said that, I can tell you're doing great, by the way.
Thanks.
But you made reference to the time in between. I would just specifically cite June and, the first 2 weeks of July. Were they an easy ride for you?
Well, not to bring us, I don't know a ton about astrology, so not to bring a ton into it, but my north node is Cancer, my south node is Capricorn, and this whole eclipse thing has been deeply connected to that. And so the north node Cancer for me, it has to do a lot with family. And this actually 1 week ago is when my older two and my ex-partner moved back to the States.
I remember that.
So yeah, they knew they were going to do it. And we'd been kind of like processing the logistics, the emotions, but then it actually like happened. So there was, just that separation. And then there's been some other news. I I knew this when I was on the show with you last, but I am pregnant. And so,
oh, by the way,
yeah. And so, I've been having to deal with a lot of, I think it's individual guilt, but it's really collective guilt that's come up, like, as I have two of my babes, like, leaving. And then I'm like, oh, bye guys, you're going to the US, and I'm having another child. Right. So, like,
wow.
even though it's like so beautiful, what's happening, I was observing these emotions and these feelings coming up. And it's brought me on this, like, clearing ancestral stuff and these feelings of guilt and shame around pregnancy, and, like, just that old energy that's not even me in this lifetime necessarily. This is my fourth kid. It's so beautiful, but there's been a lot of that energy. But the last week's been high frequency, magical, sexual liberation, freedom, goddess, divine energy, powerful stuff.
Well, you can talk about all that. This is not the PG-13 Soulgy. I'm just kidding. So, man, that's pretty cool. So how far along are you?
16 weeks. I'm due on Christmas Day, having a little Jesus baby.
Me.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's pretty crazy.
I remember, so we, around the time that we did a show, and on, in that period when Morgan and I would lay down, during that period, I remember, so what was March? Was there a solstice or something in March or something? Yeah. So there was this thing, and they were saying to us that the feminine was at full bore, masculine's at full bore. Oh, that the golden child had been conceived. Right? And it said that that energy will be delivered around the solstice of December.
Yeah.
So you're actually having a physical representation of that. That's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. And, we've talked a little bit about the gene keys, but the gene keys is kind of talking a little bit about these beings that are coming in with the full knowledge, with the full awareness, because of two consciousness coming together and creating a child. And so it's like, it sounds like some dream La La Land story. And then it's so deeply, like, embodied and knowing. And, like, I'm just honored to be the vessel of this child. And the energy that's coming through of just having this third energy that's
like a universe giving birth to a universe.
That's what it feels like.
It is. It's like, because like you said, you got the masculine and the feminine is connected and cleared, the third energy, which we've already seen some of that. But I mean, now you're actually having physical bursts. And then a lot of people talked about, well, like the first half of the year would be what it is. When June hit, everything's going to change. And then by December, everything's going to really change, like be totally different. So that makes a lot of sense that golden child energy would be coming into play right at the end of the year. Because we know, at least since I've been paying attention the last 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, the solstice, the winter solstice up to January 11th is just like, new game, new rules, new truth. Everything's wow.
Yeah. Every solstice.
So how do you feel? Like, I mean, what did that do to your, like, you've had 3 kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're like just going along, and all of a sudden that happens, and we're in these multi-dimensional and multi-fragmented human aspects all coming in, right? We're not just like, we pulled enough of them in and now they're all present at the party. They're all at the table. So did you have like a myriad of reactions and responses? Were you up and down? Were you like freaking out and then, oh my God, I can see the glory of it, but at the same time, oh my God.
Yeah. I think I had that one feeling of like, what does this look like? My kids are leaving and I'm having another child. Like, I think I was caught in that for a minute. Yeah. And so when I moved through that, it of course, from the beginning, I'm like, wow, he and I are having a child together. I can't even imagine what this is going to be like. And he's 10 years older than me. He's 47. So, and he doesn't have any children. And so this is the one for him,
So did you did you plan it? Did you not think about
We
it?
we didn't exactly plan this. So it was a surprise, and yet we know how these things
Yeah.
happen. But he is pretty professional at semen retention. And so it doesn't mean that sometimes we don't, you know, fully connect, but yeah, it wasn't expected. But yet at the same time, I think when we first got together, we've been together a year now, there were some whispers that I was supposed to have a child with him, but
Yeah.
my human was like, I'm done with all that. I am done being
Yeah.
responsible for more external beings. Like,
Yeah.
I'm flying. And so this news has also grounded me a little bit. I'm like, whoa, I can't just be floating off into space anymore. You know, I'm here.
Yeah.
And
That's
no,
funny.
it's yeah.
That's funny because every you know, I don't do it anymore, but earlier in the year when all that stuff was going on, I tell Morgan, wouldn't that be interesting if we had a child? And of course, we're in our 50s, and I'm kidding, you know, and she would like freak out. I'm not doing it again. No.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. The odds are like, you know, 1 out of a million. Of course, we're in 1 out of a million odds though.
We are in 1 out of a million odds. And, you know, it's so interesting. I had people actually ask me like, well, are you going to keep the baby? And I'm like, do you not understand how this stuff works? Like, and I'm in hey, whatever decision anybody makes, but like, that's not how I roll. I'm in full surrender. Like, what comes to me is exactly what I needed, is exactly what we needed. It's exactly what's supposed to happen. I don't even question it. It's not like, if you didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened. Like, I just don't even think like that. It's divine. It's exactly,
Absolutely.
it's like you control it, you create it. And then there's also some other forces that are bringing stuff together unconsciously that
it's
all at the
trippy.
same.
It's trippy because, and you're like, I didn't even think about it, but this happening to you. And again, we've got multi-dimensional aspects. We know that we've had to bring him into the body, or that's happening. And then you have the multi-fragmented human aspects that we've had to call in and give back pieces of other people and all that. So you've got all these different things going on in a really fast moving year. And when you said, like, in other words, I mean, you talk about being grounded. Like, you're not even you don't even have a choice. I mean, it's like it's full blown, you know, it's like a kamikaze, you know, she's coming in, he's coming in, boom, you're going to land, you're going to be grounded. Wow. That's really powerful. But like, and it's weird too, because, you know, people talk about walking in two worlds. Like, we're kind of like walking in both worlds. We talked about this. You and I talked about this because you said you really don't have to deal with it because you're out there by yourself, and, you know, you go into town and all that. But so, like, you're part of that transformational team, you know, the way I'm looking at it. Like, you're actually going to be in both extremes, because how much more grounded and present could you be than by being in a space where you're responsible for taking care of a newborn?
Totally. Yeah. Here I am thinking we're ascending off in the space. I'm like, whoa, we're here. But it's all the same. And it is the multidimensional experience. And it's like, we can't even fathom exactly what it all looks like and feels like. And these new beings that are coming in are actually here with that knowledge more than we are. We're all figuring it out as we go along, but they know it. They're showing us.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to learn and
right.
And one of my friends had kind of tuned in and said that she felt this connection. First of all, I have no idea if it's a boy or a girl, but I feel deeply it's a girl. But she was kind of saying how she sees there's going to be a deep working relationship that I have with this child that's never really been seen before, in the way that a mother works with a child. It's not so much a mother-daughter relationship, like we're equals. You know, there's no time and there's no age here. We're just energies working together.
Well, you know, like, there's Ryan and Natasha Weeks. They're all Facebook now, but they have their kid Ocean, who's 3.5 years old, who started talking to him in the womb. And then he's born, and he says, hey, you know, sell the house, sell the boat, quit your jobs. We're going on the road. I'm not going to school. I'm not being vaccinated. So I met them in Florida. The energy of this kid was incredible. Like it was pure, reckless, wild, abandoned purity. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And then there's other stories. You know, I just had a grandson a few months ago. I got to see him. He talked to me. You know, I was changing his diaper, or, and he starts telling me, "Hey, we were on a couple of planets together. I got a message for my mother," and I'm like, "Whoa!" And then later on today, Z's coming on. Z Ming Wang. I don't know if you know her.
Oh, yes. Oof.
Oh my God!
That's a
And
little emotional for me, that
yeah,
process. Oof.
but I mean, but what you were saying about they're coming in as equals, they're coming in, they already have it, everything's changing. They're the physical representation of that, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about her story, and well, not so much her story, but leading up to it, because we had a couple of conversations, and then when that happened, and she talked about she pulled in all the reality of it, all the
Mm-hmm.
multidimensionality, the whole thing that you're talking about with this mutual cooperative effort. Hey, this is part of our world. How do we know, or how do we not know how far this is going to go? Is our visible light spectrum going to expand? Are we going to be walking next to those people that we used to call deceased? I mean, how do we know how this is all going to work? We really don't know.
I know, where I'm playing in that field of like what, and you just honestly, we're just eating popcorn at this time, watching this movie, and all of this stuff is happening. And it's interesting, when I found out I was pregnant, she's the first person that I thought of, because I felt like a deep connection with her. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, these are the ones, these children coming in. And then, the news and all of that. And even how she explained it, it's like, as emotional as it was, especially when I'm triple emotional with being, pregnant, it was, I get it. And I saw what she was saying, and the true, like the dissolving of the material world, and the duality, and the attachment to the physical, and the attachment to the human, and as that's our soul identity or something like that. And it's not. And so we're getting a glimpse of these other worlds. We're starting to play in these worlds, and the children, I think, are really bringing in a lot more of that.
Oh, absolutely, they are. I was listening to a real dear friend of ours, like a sister, drop by to visit, and she sent me a video before she came of a QHHT session, and I listened to like half the video, and I didn't even know it was her. She was the person doing the QHHT thing, which was kind of funny. But in the QHHT session, she was talking about what happened in her experience prior to coming here, like how that went down, and what the machinations were with the teams and the your co-creators and so on. And when I was listening, I went back and listened to it. And to your point, it's like all this other we thought it was just here. Then all this other stuff came in, and we spent a bunch of time out there. And then we're like, oh, wait, this isn't going to do us any good unless we pull it down here, which we've done. But listening to her session, I started to realize that it's not even that's not the place we came from. That place, this table that they were all standing around planning on this life, it goes further. We can't get stuck on any of them. And I'm starting to think that we are this epicenter, that we have the densest and the lightest, and we're bringing it all together. So everything's coming to the party.
Yeah. Gosh, I've been feeling that too. It's like all of the stories, all of the identification, all of the councils, and all of that stuff are still just separation from like the true original source that we all are. It always all goes back to that. And I remind myself of that. We're playing this game out, really. We're living out this reality. We're living out this consciousness and this evolutionary process. But it's like, it always goes back to like the one original source that we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple statement or given or universal law or whatever you want to call it. Like you talk about it, but it's not. But we're coming from this place where we've created all these complications with a divine perfect orchestration with a purpose, right? It's not like we're taking a beating here, but so it's like, the ways that we're getting back there, I think we're actually creating,
Yeah.
and I don't mean creating here, but like with these kids like yours and others, like this is all being created up there. It's manifesting here, which is interesting, because it's so physical.
Could you say it's really the merging of this idea of heaven on earth, or the merging of God and man, or the merging of the divine and the human? It's like we're now seeing it being birthed in the physical form. But
I think so.
And yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
I really do.
Yeah.
So my friend came in the other night, right? And so we have like a dry riverbed in the back. It looks like a jungle. It looks like where you're at. Okay. It looks like a jungle in the middle of the city. It's crazy. So it found us. So we're out there, we're just chilling out. It's 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. And you could feel the connection of the three of us. Like we weren't having a deep conversation. We're just all hanging out, talking, joking around, but you could feel it. And all of a sudden, about 300 degrees on the horizon, it wasn't the full 360. All this lightning starts going off, and it looked weird. It didn't even look right. It looked like somebody was projecting it. And I said, holy crap, we're creating this. Like our magic is starting to physicalize. And of course, then came this cool wind and then this big storm. And I'm in there, out there barefooted in the rain. But this is what's happening. To your point, we're like in the flesh. We're goddesses, God's in the flesh. And that doesn't just mean that we can navigate and do this and teleport. It means that we're actually becoming this reflector of our true nature, and it comes out in things like this and many other things, I believe.
And it leads to this place where you're like, is this real? I live in this magical reality now. It's like everything is phenomenal. Everything is supernatural. It's especially with the sky and the stars. And we were on the beach the other day looking at the Big Dipper. I don't know the last time I traced it out. And then this shooting star comes, which I guess was a comet, is what I found out, because there's been a lot of people writing about this comet, but it looked so big. I couldn't even believe it was happening. I'm like, maybe this is a firework, maybe no, but it was. And yet I had a recent time at the beach, me, a friend, and Eduardo, and there were pops of like electricity or light that were coming off of the ocean. And I'm like, am I seeing this? Are you seeing this? It was pure electricity.
Yeah.
These little sparks of energy or fire almost coming off of the water. And we're creating this beautiful movie that we're watching we're in awe of ourselves. We're in awe of our almighty presence. And,
I'm with you on that. I don't think it's cliche-ish. I don't think it's like fluffy love and light-ish. I think it's reality. I think it's like, man, last night is a great example. So last night when we put our hands together, we didn't talk last night. We don't always talk. And if we do, she's usually the one pulling it in, So I remember I started being shown like the journey. So like as the individual goes, so goes the collective, right? So it was a parallel. So it was about me, but it wasn't. And I was watching it. And so it got us up to this point, and it was like one of those things like, oh, you're right where you're supposed to be. Let me show you where you guys are at, you guys being the collective. So we have our hands together as always. And all of a sudden I could feel the electricity on my side and the magnetism on her side. And then they like did something, and then both sides carried both. It was really weird. But the reason I'm telling you this is because like a lot of the information that people I've been talking to about their experiences recently, like the last few weeks, and my own experience, there's no words. It's like, here's the information. I just described it as best I could, but I know with that, like a whole threshold was crossed.
Waves of energy or information or
Yeah.
frequency coming in. God, I'm feeling the same thing. We're having these experiences every single day. And we'll usually wake up the next day and be like, what happened?
Right.
Like we try to remember some of the stuff, and you can't always consciously grab this stuff. And especially with the electric and the magnetic, clearly, and the masculine and the feminine, and the merging of the consciousness and all of that. And honestly, I feel like our role has been a little bit different than some. And I've had to like go through, as I was awakening, I guess you could say, and I would kind of dabble in the divine and how a sacred sexuality and whatever. I've never followed any teachings, but it felt like I could still grab that. Like I still had this program that sex is bad kind of thing. I don't know why. It's old, it's ancient, right? And I've been clearing that forever. But you know, we're at a point in our relationship now, we're making love like 3 to 4 hours a day. And it's like pure energy. Like a physical being wouldn't even have the physical energy to do this, or the want to do it, probably, because most people are so busy with their other stuff and they're so stressed out. They're not even connected to this. It's pure life force energy.
Yes.
And it's like, I've really had to push beyond like, oh, is sex bad or whatever no, this is my work. This is how I bring it in. This is what he's bringing to me. And this is and this is the merging of the two. And I see him as a goddess as much as I see him as a god, and the same for me. And it's like, and I'm pregnant. Like, I mean, that could go either way. You could really have a high drive, or you could really not. And I actually think we've been like this the whole time that we've been together, pretty much. But I also think that
you guys are
energy.
you guys are from the rabbit planet.
You know, I don't know what it is.
I'm just kidding with you.
I don't even know what.
No, I get what you're saying.
It's like mind blowing.
I get what you're saying. We've talked about it, and I think you and I talked about it. But we've had those. Now we're not every day, okay? Like you're talking about. But when it happens, it is a long period of time. It seems like it doesn't, you don't even know where you're in dimension. Okay.
Yes.
So like the other night, like a week, 10 days ago. So I was going through something for like 2 days, just something was playing in my head something was about to fall into place. We laid down, put our hands together, and I got that feeling, right, where you just know you got to do it. So I got up on my knees and I looked at her and I said, I surrender totally to you. Right? Like it was so pure. It was about the goddess. It was about it. And so anyway, she raises up and grabs me. I got dizzy. I laid down. The next thing I know, she turns into a Egyptian, golden skinned Egyptian goddess priestess with this kind of an animal nose. She raises up. I put my hand to go on her back. It goes right through. She's not there. I look down. She's laying down. And then I see this Indian blue skin god. Yeah. So this thing that you're talking about is real. And this thing that you're talking about is going to continue to expand. And there are no words for it. Mm-mm. It's just pure energy exchange, code exchange, expansion of our natural nature through a natural experience.
Totally. Yeah. Gosh, it's interesting you bring up the blue skin and the golden Egyptian. I don't see things and experience them like this, but those messages usually I piece bits and pieces of that. A lot of the golden energy right now, and the Krishna, the blue god playing the flute for the goddess, and like Eduardo is that, and you are that, and these men that are embodying this god within them are that, and it's I can't even question it anymore. I think that I had to go through this part of like, what I'm feeling now is a true sexual liberation for all people, for all women, for all men, for full expression and full openness, and that all of our energy centers are completely open, and that energy is flowing. Because I think in my old human experience, I was so caught up in the day-to-day life, like that just wasn't happening. Yeah. And it wasn't meant to happen like this either. No regrets, no problems. but I wasn't even tapped into that center.
Yeah.
And it's very much as important as your crown or your third eye, or it's the energy flowing through all the involution, the evolution, the merging of all the chakras to where they don't even exist anymore. Anyways, none of that's even separate. But yeah, I am wondering, I'm anticipating that other people are experiencing these types of connections and energy. Yeah.
And what's weird too to me is like, so in the old, let's say the pre-awakening, which would have been like, say, 13 to 50, I was very sexual, very connected to my sexuality, and I guess what I'm trying to say is it was a very powerful, energetic experience and journey. But it was nothing like this. Like this is like all that had to go away. Like I had hangups, but I was like everybody, but I still like, if I was in a marriage, it was pretty much performance and routine. Like this is where you had to go every day to kind of refine each other, if for lack of a better word, because of all the distortion during the day. It was just a different thing. And this, when that vessel got emptied, and this type of experience that you guys are experiencing every day for 3-4 hours, it just creeps up on you. It's just like, wow, like what's going on here? Like, and do you get like a lot of, I'm sure you must, because you're connected already, but I mean, like, there's a connection or a relationship, a direct relationship between that type of experience and activity and more code coming in.
Right. Yeah. That's what I feel like is happening. And I don't always know what the codes are like, but it almost feels like golden coins coming in. Like you're just like in a video game you're playing, as you're expressing and bringing in this energy, you're just bringing in these codes. It's like, and it's, and when I've been receiving a lot of info just about how do you get to these places? Well, for sure, the emotional shit's got to be cleared. Like there can't really be a whole lot of this, like these games that we're still playing. Like you have to, like you said, your vessel became clear, and that changed things from the old to now. And it's like you cannot experience or access. And sometimes I feel like sacred sexuality or these unions can be really like chased after or desired by people, but you don't have to desire any of that. You got to go in there and excavate and let go and surrender and remember the oneness and embody it, not just know it. And that's when this type of, and we all have different jobs on the planet, right? Like we're not all meant to be doing this. And I understand that too, but there is our own sense of internal freedom that must happen or take place, and healing before these types of experiences. And yet the experience itself is also a healing, right. But there's something that happens before that to even go into these worlds and really play,
I was thinking about even today, I was thinking about our journey, Morgan and I, like it's just like mind blowing, like all the stuff that we that we went through, and then to end up and finally have a place to call our own after 3.5 years of living out of suitcases and living hand to mouth and eating crackers and cheese, and we're still not out of the woods, but at least we have a place, right? Affordable place. And I was thinking about all of that. And I was thinking about the intimacy or the sacred sexual aspect of our journey. And to your point, everything on the front end was helping each other excavate, right? There was minimal intimacy in the old physical sense, I mean, we slept together, we touched each other, but there was, you know what I mean? And all that focus was on clearing it out, both consciously and unconsciously, and intimacy in non-stereotypical ways, like, and I see the value of it now. The celibacy, I see the value of it now. And I know everybody has a different trip, and I also know that, like you said, everybody's got something they specialize in, or some things they specialize in. When they break down these energetic doors, that's what they're special. That's why they're there, so they can open the door and make it easier for other people.
Exactly. I always see it like we're creating the templates, and it's as soon as you do it, you've created this template that anyone could kind of dive into, or leap into, quantum leap into. It's quantum templates, really.
Yes.
And so as soon as you're living this certain way, or expressing this certain way, or liberating yourself, or experiencing, it's like it's just there as an awareness that anybody can play with. And I connect this stuff to the gene keys too. I have the 29 and the 30.
I was going to ask you about that. You said, oh, and please finish what you were going to say about the 29 and 30, but will you follow up with what you were saying about what it had to say about these new kids coming in?
Yeah, there's two things I wouldn't mind sharing with you straight from the book that I think would be collective messages that could be helpful. But yeah, this 29 and this 30 gene key specifically, which I have and Eduardo also has, and our incarnation cross, I also merge human design with this, is about bringing in the new mutation of the mutation of the human into the new human form. And then also on top of that, I believe we're here to kind of shift the way that we look at relationships and sexuality. And so this is stuff I've gathered from these codes and understanding, but specifically in the 29 and the 30, it's talking about saying yes to yourself. And it's talking about desire is the shadow frequency of it. Rapture is the city, the highest frequency of it. But it's actually talking about one of our roles is burning out sexuality. At some point, there is a world where sex doesn't exist anymore, and where we're androgynous beings. And it's kind of like it goes into that just a little bit. But so when you find out your codes a little bit, that's what's been helpful for me. And even just embracing these experiences that I'm having, it's like, man, this is part of my job, burning out desire for the collective. And desire is not bad. Desire is the energy that we're using for creation. And what was I going to read to you though? Okay, I'm going to read this to you really quick about the merge, or the coming in of the consciousness. Okay. This is from Gene Key 59. One always needs two opposite poles, and the coming mutation of the human solar plexus system will essentially create a cauldron whenever two such poles meet. Within that cauldron, the auric fields of the two parties are chaotically interfused, and through an alchemical process, a new awareness dawns above the solar plexus center. The actual culmination of this process does not occur in the solar plexus area, but in the heart. In traditional esoteric systems, we tend to view the centers of force within the body as separate, as opposed to being part of a single system. The heart center is, in fact, the higher glandular functioning of the solar plexus. This is kind of part of the mutation that they're talking about here. As this heart opening occurs, true intimacy is born, and two people meet with a single awareness. It is important, therefore, to grasp the true nature of the process known as sublimation of sexuality. It is a shattering process in which chaos must be experienced before the higher emergence is perceived. Since this process is currently occurring throughout the entire human gene pool, what we see in the world today may be understood as a reflection of this chaotic breaking down of the world aura. Only when it has reached a critical zenith will we begin to see the birth of the third awareness. This will be reflected in the material plane through the birth of a new kind of human being whose single purpose is to house this new awareness.
Wow.
So I read that like right after. Actually, I'm a part of
it's a third energy.
It's the third energy. Yeah. And so it's talking about the physical birth of it coming in and holding this consciousness of two auras that have merged together, creating this consciousness, basically. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Because, Age of Trinity, the power of the triad is coming in the fold. I got one last week. And so something was presented to me, which I won't go into full detail about, totally rocked me. I'm up till 5:30 in the morning in the garage crying, hanging out with the fairies and the nature beings. And I hadn't had this happen in a long, long time. But what part of what was said was that you and Morgan will actually get to a place. There's a bunch of other stuff involved with it, but that you would actually get to a place energetically where you're one and the same, period. Like beyond talk, like the organs merge, the physical merges. And of course, if that's the case, which body is it? And then that was kind of the other part of it that like threw me off. But it had to do with that. It had to do with almost like anywhere one of you would go, both of you would be, and people would. It was a different timeline. Wow. Basically, it was like not prophecy, but not for the individuals, but for where we're headed. I still think that anything could happen. We could be anywhere by the end of this year.
Totally.
Because if you think about the quantum field, which we're only, regardless of what science tells us, we're only know it as well as we know it in this moment, is when those kids start landing. I mean, that's a physical thing, but
it's a quantum leap.
That's right. It's not a physical thing. That's like you saw a comet the other night. That's like a comet coming down and crashing onto the earth, energetically speaking. I mean, it's going to be rippled through the whole, right? And then what you have, I mean, how perfect to design this whole quarantine. How many kids are going to be born?
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. So, wow.
I was already living in that type of, quarantine feeling world before, not feeling like a quarantine, but, and my lifestyle hasn't really changed too much, except they've restricted the beaches and our driving, which is a little crazy. But
I just meant with the intimacy.
I know. I agree.
This hit like in March, and how many couples? I mean, what can you do when you can't go outside? Eventually?
Exactly. My conception date was for sure March 23rd. And that day happened to be this magical day where I stopped at a church that had 7 angels on the top that was showing me information about the corona connected to the corazon. The corazon is if you spell out corazon, it spells corona and Z for 0 point, right? So I started seeing corazon everywhere because I'm in Costa Rica. So it's Spanish and it's heart, right? And corona is crown. And so I started receiving all these downloads about all this cosmic info coming into our crown, but it can't come in because our heart's not open. Our corazon's not open. So it was really, this virus is we can't receive all the cosmic codes coming into our crown center without the heart opening. And so in order to do that, we've got to dive down into the depths of all of our wounds and the healing and the 0 to 7 and 7 to 14, all of that stuff in our shadows to really like match the cosmic info coming in, to really be able to integrate it. So, and to really play with the 0 point energy, because corazon spells corona plus a Z for 0 point.
I can speak a little Spanish. I can read it pretty good, but that makes a lot of sense. There's a question. I'm going to throw it on you.
Sure.
From Allison. She says, do you think we are to align our galactic lineage, angelic and astral, or are we to integrate all of those aspects into human form and experience? What do you think?
Because I can only I think we're all so different and we're all here to do different things. So I have this deep knowing and understanding of the galactics but I am here to embody it all in my human physical vessel right now. That's right. And I don't always know the answers. And I don't always understand it all. And I do sometimes receive messages. I feel very deeply connected to Palladians and Venus. Venus is coming in a lot right now, and Sanat Kumara and all of that. And yet we are all of those things. We are the ascended masters. We are the creators. We are the gods. And we're here as a human mastering this. Like the Buddha used to need to be in the cave, right? And that's cool. Good job. But here we are mastering reality. We're like interacting with other humans and we still have to pay bills and shit, like we still have to be human. But yet we have these divine aspects, these cosmic, these galactic. So I only feel like that's going to awaken more and more. I don't know if this really answers the question, but I don't chase anything. I just let it all come.
That. And everyone is different, but I think what you said I think, excuse me, I think what you said does apply to everybody. And it's just my opinion, but it's like we're walking in heels and chewing gum, cosmically speaking. Like like you said, we're paying bills, we're doing this and we're doing that. And I have another example. So like, I guess last week was a big week. This whole month's been big.
Mm-hmm.
We laid down. It was another night of no talking. I might have said a couple things. She was quiet. I looked up. I saw the room fill up, which isn't out of the ordinary, but it was who it was or what was represented and the volume of essences that were present. So it would start out like with a mother universe, a father God, then it became like a Jesus, a Magdalene, a Kuan Yin, and it just went.
Mm.
And I said, well, what is this? And I said that, so I was like, okay, does this mean that I can like tap into anyone at any time, anything I need? And I know this? Well, yeah, you know that already. So it went back and forth for 4 or 5 minutes. And then it finally came in and was like, this is you.
Mm-hmm.
This is all you. Do you understand? And I'm like, yes. And then it went like, like something happened and then I went to sleep. But yeah, to your point, this is almost like, it's so far out there, and all of us had these external connections and external communions and relations until we were able to accept that we embodied it. But it's almost like this is a big get over it. Get over this, and you're going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff that's only held back by the beliefs that it's not you.
Oh,
So,
exactly. Oh, yeah. And for some reason, I've had these deep beliefs within myself for a couple years, but I felt like maybe it was a little too, I was like, is this my ego aspect coming in, that I think I'm the same as this, or that I am no different than, so I would question even that, but there's sometimes even a worthiness of it, or we still look at these other beings or energies as outside of us, as holier than us or more powerful than us. And we're here to embody their codes. They are us, and there are memories there.
That's right.
We are every civilization and every galaxy. We're all of it. We're just playing and we're having a lot of fun, or we should be.
Yeah.
Well, you can do whatever you want. It's your choice, right? But I like to play and have fun.
Me too. That's why I'm here. I'm like a little kid. But, and I think like Alicia, Todd, Joanne, Delia, whoever, these aspects of ourselves, because of the degree of difficulty in this particular mission or whatever you want to call it, I think they're going to be essences that we pull from. Mm-hmm. They're going to be added to the team. I mean, we pull a lot of stuff in. It's one thing to pull in all your multidimensionality, but also to throw that with the multi-fragmented human aspects, and then turn them all into winners, all of them being transformed and integrated and converged together. That's a powerful alchemic equation that I don't believe, like you said earlier, we're making the templates. We're creating the templates, right?
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing, considering the history of the universe and all the multitude of templates that have been created. You would think we'd run out of ways to creatively, come to new horizons and new templates and new blueprints, whatever. But we're doing it.
We are. It is far out. It's. I see it like a wildfire that can't be stopped at this point, because now, then my aspect gets with your aspect, or we get with another. Like, I can't even thank you for how many people I've connected with since I was on the show last. I'm so grateful for that. Cool. And it's like, when we talk, whoever those connections are, it's like we are blowing up codes with each other. We don't even have to talk in code. And our stories, and then the synchronicities, and you're remembering more, and you're embodying more. And that's what's happening now. And what your show is doing is bringing all the aspects together, and we all have different stories and experiences, but then there's the, hey, me too. And now it's just, it's quantum codes. I just see everything going. It's activation.
I do that same thing. That's weird.
You do.
Yeah.
It's like downloads, uploads, activations.
I was telling my friend today that came to drop by on the way to California. So I was telling her, like, it's really weird because it was ultra complicated. You had, 5, 6 years ago, you had empath groups and star seeds and indigos, and you had this and you had that and all this stuff going out there. And then we filtered through it, and we've kind of drilled it down. And I said, and now it's like to me, it's so simple. It's like you could pick up the phone, you could put it in your kitchen, you could say, hey, it's Todd today. Let me show you how to make my favorite meal. And you know what I mean? The truth frequency is the truth frequency. You know what I mean? You can't deny it, even if you don't like the person, even if you don't like what they're talking about. We all recognize the truth. And now this universal energy is doing something, or something's going on, where it supports the quicker expansion of this code sharing that you're talking about.
Totally. Yeah. I'm grateful too that my kind of like triggering or awakening really happened beyond that period you're talking about with star seeds and empaths. I'm glad I didn't really go through that. It was helpful for me because I didn't have to shed anything that I'd learned in this world, in this light worker world, or in this community world. There could still sometimes in the new age world be like some separation or some judgments, and it's like some of us, in a way, I kind of feel like the same way I hopped into awareness, which was almost like a night and day, is how these children are kind of popping in this awareness, where and bringing in new templates where somebody can awaken and have never known any of this past stuff at all, but be at the same consciousness level and the same understanding and codes and codes and codes.
Was that an orb that just went over your head? Did y'all see that orb that went over your head, or is that just me? Yeah.
There might be a little bug or something. Who knows? But it could be.
Hey, I had a fairy land on my face last night.
Oh, you saw it, Delia? Cool. You had a fairy land on your face?
Yeah. Some people would have said it was a firefly, but it was. But getting out here talking to them, they explained to me, I've always been close to the animals, insects, nature. And they tell me, what you see is not what you think it is, and I'm like, okay, and so, yeah. I was going to say something. You were talking about something. So have you attempted to communicate with the universe within the universe that you are, within that womb? Have you tried to communicate?
I don't know that I ever make attempts to do anything. Okay. I'm just always wide open. And then normally what I feel like the relationship is that when I receive info, it's the source, it's directly connected to the source. So I'll receive downloads or just information, or it's usually just and then most of the time I won't even remember it anymore. It's like a temporary space.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. I don't seek very often. The only thing I do is they'll say, if you need something, let us know. Like, put it into the field. And when I say us, obviously I'm talking about the me, you, we, and it. I see it the same way. It's all the same. Right. But so that resonates a lot. It just comes, right? And then the thing that you said about remembering, like, there's no way anymore. Like in the last few weeks, like the stuff coming in, like you said, it's like that, right? and you jump up and you're like, I got to write a post, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And so now I just laugh about it. I laughed about it yesterday. I got so much yesterday, and I was just like, I'm like, Morgan, you wouldn't believe how much stuff I got. She's like, what? I said, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it was a whole bunch of different things on a whole bunch of different subjects.
Quantum. This is the quantum, you're putting it out in the field. And these are the ideas that, somebody could invent something and then someone around the world invented the same thing because they're in this field. And sometimes we'll be in the middle of a connection and Eduardo will be like, okay, you need to write this stuff down. And I don't. And then when I don't, it never actualizes, but it's not because it's not meant to be said. No. It's already been said. We're the creators. I am the mother and he is the father. And when I speak, I create. And so it's like, it's already been done.
That's
It
right.
is,
So if you look at the analogy as an analogy, because I'm like you, I'm seeing it all. Like when you talk to me, I see. So like when you were saying, I met so many people through coming on here last time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at that as energy, like, so it would be like if I said at the end of the show, like right now, I was like, hey, everybody, or so here's Susie, meet Alicia, here's Jane, da 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 da. You guys hook up, like verbalizing it. But it doesn't work that way. It's the energy. Look, we could have this conversation privately. And if we get to certain thresholds we cross, or epiphanies or revelations or code expansion, it goes into the entire realm.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's where that third energy has come into play, because it's its own consciousness. It's of two or more, and it's in alignment with intention. It's powered by imagination. And of course, it's picked up on by intuition,
It's magnetic.
Yeah.
And I think of all the things that have happened to me since I got here. Boom, a book fell into my lap about teachings of the Palladians, bringers of the dawn. And it was about DNA and frequency. And I was like, boom, okay, Gene Keys came in, human design came in, Eduardo came in, and all the people and any and everything that I've needed, like the tools for the journey of awakening or evolution, I guess you could say. And it's like, you could say that they just came by the universe, or that I created them and put them there. Yeah. I never know which. I take such a stance on, okay, interesting. There's something in my reality I'm not feeling so good about. All right, let me go inside of myself and ask myself why I created this.
Exactly.
And I don't ask like, why is this happening to me? I'm like, oh, that's it. Why did I create this?
That's exactly
how did I create this? And
you
then
sound just like
you don't
Morgan.
have anyone to blame. You don't have anyone to blame. You don't have anyone to be pissed at. You don't have to misunderstand it. And you don't need to try to fix it outside of you either, because that's the other thing. If your frequency creates your reality, you don't go into the reality and try to fix the reality. No. You go into your frequency. If you don't like your reality, you go into your frequency and you do some energetic surgery in there, and you figure out your emotional stuff and what's blocking or keeping you from these higher frequencies, so that your reality matches. But you don't exactly get to decide what the reality looks like exactly. That's the thing. There's no attachment to it. Looks like this. You just play with the frequency and you let the reality match that, and it always comes. And so I like to stay in the highest frequencies possible most of the time, and I know when I'm jacked inside, because my outside will look a little turbulent.
Yeah. And you don't treat the symptom. You go inside and you find the root. Yeah. This is how Morgan is, and I've learned a lot from her. I've learned that it's never them, it's always me. So that became an easy one for me. Then in watching her and people like her who were of that mindset and practice, to then look at how their human was allowed to flow. And because I was like, okay, almost mechanical, and I'm not a mechanical person. I'm a very, kind of free energy person. But then I thought, well, the human has to be honored, right? So it's okay for the human to say what they got to say, or say how they feel, or, it's like weird, because it's not in ego, it's in human, the part of the human that's, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm starting to get there. There's times when I'm very quiet, and then there's other times where I say, you know what, I need to say something, but I'm more balanced, that kind of thing. But I think it's reflective of all of us. I think we've come a long way.
I agree. And you need to express it. That's the only way that it comes out, right? Or else it lasts forever inside, like some dormant cellular memory. And it's like, that's really what's happening with this coronavirus, right? Like everything we're seeing outside is it's all the shadow stuff coming up. This is an awakening, but our collective shadows and our thinking and our beliefs have to be expressed. And it looks a little chaotic right now until it doesn't anymore, but it can't disappear. it can't be healed, or it can't shift into these higher frequencies or this resonance with the Schumann. It can't go there until we kind of like chuck out all of the stuff. And so it's got to come out of us until,
that's right. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. It's like, like what's the difference between getting attached to the story? We were seeded by, Pleiadians, Anunnaki, or this, or the cabal, or 1%, or COVID, or, some of the stuff that's coming up, which is as within without, which is just coming up because it's coming up in us. We're talking some of the horrific things from a human perspective. But what's the difference between that and getting lost in our multidimensionality, or who we channel? That's why I love about what you're saying, because you're taking it to the, let's call it the omnipresent. You're taking it considering everything, and you're still advocating or maintaining or sustaining that presence in all, with all things considered. So you're not locking into anything. And I love what you said too about, I don't know if this is happening for me or if I'm creating it. You know what I mean? Well, and it's like, what's the difference? What's the difference? We know how the game works. Yeah.
This is the Alan Watts consciousness, like I really resonate with him so deeply in the way that it all goes back to like, we are all the one, and the law of one, and like, and right now, the collective is working things out. And so some people are fighting for like, but we all have to feel this, and we all have to fight for this. And we all know we're a collective, and I love you and accept you. And if you feel you need to do that, that's perfect. And I feel I want to be in this space. I want to feel peace in my life. I want to be in heaven on earth. I am in that reality. I'm in this timeline. Yeah. And that's playing in our multidimensional. And that's really what we're seeing right now, right? Is multidimensionality. Yeah. We're all in dimensions or just perceptions. So we're all in different dimensions right now, and kind of merging together.
And it's not like, oh, well, this one's right and that one's, and you're over there and you're not awake, or you're not here yet, or it's not like that. I always say it's like, we're kids that go into a room full of toys, and you're 3 years old, and you play with what you resonate with, and you don't with what you don't. I, whatever you want to call it, a download like 10 days ago too, during this period. And and I was shown the field, with more dimension, more timelines, more perfection, more alignment. But still, as I was going around and navigating the field, there were certain places that I just didn't gel with. I didn't love them any more or less, those energies, and the ones that I gelled with, it's just, that isn't my cup of tea, Like, I don't know if I haven't tasted it, or if I have and I didn't, or whatever. I don't know. But it was okay. It was okay, to just do what you want, basically.
Yes, there are no rules. Do what you want. Like, that's the liberation. I actually think there are no rules here. There is no structure about the way we're supposed to do it, or how we're supposed to believe, behave, act, have sex. Like, it's all these rules that and sometimes we'll put the rules under light worker or starseed or, and we know it's an internal sovereignty. That's the game we're playing here, is true sovereignty, where you're not influenced by what you think you should do based on what you've been taught or what someone else has told you. How do you feel inside? And that's how you do learn to honor everybody that's doing whatever they're doing. And there's nothing bad, good, right, or wrong.
That's right.
They're doing what their soul feels called to do. And yet we always check ourselves and say, is this my soul and what it feels called to do? Or is this my programming? Yeah. Am I being programmed to act or feel or this way or whatever? But
no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Spaceships land tomorrow, and hey, jump on. We're taking you to New Earth. I'm not jumping on. I'm going to say I am sovereign soul.
I'm in the New Earth
until I know. Right? You know what I mean. But again, it could be your church. It could be a fifth dimensional. It could be play. We're a composite. So I'm made up. I've connected with, what did you say? I use myself as an example: Pleiadian, Arcturian, Syrian, a dragon, whatever. I notice that each one of the aspects has certain propensity, a certain specialty, just like you talked about all of us here. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously their force of energy is going to be kind of in that trajectory. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
the way I look at it is like that room the other night. All of this is me. I'm going to move forward without trying to remember anything, because you can't. And just that's embodiment, but the human's there too. The human is, the human is there too. I'm so excited to be here. I don't want to leave. I want to be
It's
here for
fun.
1,000 years. I mean, I literally do. I want to be here. I want to defy death and what we call death and physical illness. And yes, I'm realizing too how important it is what we're thinking, basically saying to ourselves. What
Mm-hmm.
laws are we laying down within our own minds, not to mention words and actions, which should follow. But I cringe when Morgan says, "Oh, we're getting old." I'm like, don't include me there.
Oh, time is the biggest program of all, and
Right?
aging. Totally.
I know she's like,
Yeah.
"You're losing your hair," and I'm like, "What?" At first, I'll be like, "What?" And then I'm like, "No, I'm not. My hair is turning black. It's
Yeah.
getting fuller."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Defying gravity, defying time,
Wow.
immortality, totality. I feel all of these things, and the more we embody, we can. That's the download I've been receiving this week. We can know it all, but until you integrate and embody, your knowledge means nothing.
Yeah.
We
That's right.
actually have to embody this stuff. We have
That's right.
to integrate it in the body and bring it into the physical. That's the vessel that we are. And we got to let go of the stuff that we need to let go of in the physical to really embody
That's
these
right.
truths. But
I mean, otherwise, what's the point? What's the point? We didn't wake up we didn't become aware just to become aware. I remember I was told years ago when I was on the streets, and I was told wisdom is knowledge plus action. If you don't take action with what you're given, then it's not worth anything. And then I met Morgan, and for 2 years she'd say, if you don't embody it, it doesn't mean anything. And I'd be like, what does that mean? I asked her for 2 years, what does that mean? And I didn't know it. Like, really, like everything, in my opinion, you can be told something, but until you actually experience it, you don't get it. That's the code. That's why I think, like what you said about these conversations and these people you've met and the conversations you've had, even if you're not talking modality or process or, doctrine or anything, the naturalness of that conversation is the code. I mean, it's the energy that's open, in all ways to its highest potential in that moment with another one or two or more gathered. Yeah.
It's true co-creation too, without there being like an agenda of like, okay, what are we going to co-create today? No,
Yeah.
Every time we get together and we understand we're multidimensional beings and we're just talking with each other and we're remembering stuff with each other, we're activating each other. That is the co-creation. And there aren't words to define it. It's not like you put a checklist together. Well, we co-created this, and this today.
Yeah.
No, we just brought our energies together to remember with each other, and the co-creation just kind of happens on its own. And it might look like something physical. It might look like a galactic community in Costa Rica. It might look like that. It might look like activating the mutation in another being. Which is what I feel like's happening right now with some of the gene key stuff, is activating the mutation. Because there are some of us, once you understand the codes, you're fully activated in the codes. So then when you connect with another and you've created the template of the realization of the information, it's like now I've started doing this. Last time on our call, you'd asked me like, do you do any work or do you have any sites? And I was like, no, don't do anything. But since your call, or since our video, people have been asking me, and it's showed me and it taught me what this is supposed to look like. And it's been really fun. So
do you have a website?
I don't have a website. If anybody, they just message me on Messenger, and I do Venmo or PayPal. I don't know what it is. I don't want to get so business. I don't want to get I don't use websites.
Cellogy's been around 9 years. We still don't have one.
I'm like, I don't go to websites. So I always look for somebody's Facebook, and I don't want to maintain that stuff. And like, I used to work for Dell, the computer tech company, and I don't even own a computer now. Yeah. I don't even own a computer now. Like I don't even want to go back into that world.
Yeah.
And
No,
what
I'm
I'm
with you.
finding
Yeah.
is I don't have to advertise. I don't have to say anything. And the energy works just like we talked about. And
That's
the
right.
people come and they know we're supposed to talk, and
It's
we
organic.
do.
Yeah.
It's so natural. And I
It's
never want to
organic.
market myself or,
Yeah.
it's like,
No, it won't work any other way. It
no,
won't. If you,
not in
and
this
I've
new world.
experienced this several times, and with Sology, and blown it up, because and I'm told there cannot be the energy of force or agenda. You can't do it the old ways, controlling, structuring, hierarchical, that type of thing. And just as an example, like I can feel, the only reason we're going to do a site is because of the network. So we can have a private streams and allow people to plug in and as an alternative to Facebook, YouTube, and whatever you watch, right? A place where everybody can come uncensored and so on. But, and I could feel it when we got here a month ago. I thought, oh, because I started to get acclimated with the property. It started talking to me and I'm like, okay, we're getting closer now. I don't have to go do anything because it's different now. You don't have to go, here's the message, now go do it. No, you just get the message and know you're moving closer to alignment. So I feel it. And so then I get these two messages from these two young men, and they're like, hey man, have you thought about doing this and that? I'm like, yeah, we've been working on it for like 2 or 3 years. Well, maybe we can help you, both of them like.
Yes.
So I met with them, and sure enough, it's moving the ball, but it's organic. And
Yep.
to me, it's intention, imagination, intuition. And so when two or more meet in that space, in that field, and like you said, you don't know what it's going to be like. It's to me, it's the womb. I surrendered in totality the other night to that, what I would consider feminine, but I mean to that. I surrendered to the womb, to the abyss, to the void. And because like you said, you go into it, now we go into it with two or more, which is part of this trip. And you go into that womb and you don't know what it's going to look like. That's part of that mystery. That's that feminine flow, right? I mean, that's
totally.
You have to let it go. That wildness that, this is, I'm excited. I'm excited for you, for Eduardo, for your family. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to say, we don't do a lot of promoting here, but I hear nothing but really positive, powerful stuff about Alicia. And I would highly recommend her for anybody who needs some down to earth, one-on-one, so you guys reach out to her on Facebook, and I'm so happy for you. If there's anything we can do to help expand awareness of what you're doing, please reach out to me. And other than that, I look forward to collaborating with you again later in the year.
Yeah, it's so fun playing with these codes, Todd. Thank you for being an activation for so many. And just like, I organically found you one day about 2-ish, 3-ish years ago. And like some of the videos I would watch were so freeing and liberating for me. I remember specific ones that like helped me punch through stuff. And you're just doing so much beautiful work. And I just have so much gratitude for what you do on the scene and what you and Morgan, because now I understand the work is actually off the scenes. Nobody's seeing this stuff. It's not on camera, but it's the stuff. It's like when you're facing yourself, when you're doing your work, and then when you're combining your energies together, it's thank you for doing this work.
You're very welcome. And thank you. And thank you for sharing space. Thank you everybody for coming in.
Thanks,
we'll be back
everyone.
we'll be back in 42 minutes with somebody. Oh, a new friend, Kathleen Haley. She looks real powerful. So beautiful.
See you, Todd. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.